Lovelies, it's 26th of June. As you can probably tell, I'm in hospital, unfortunately. So over the last few months, I've not been holding down any feed. So I've lost a lot of weight, and I was a healthy weight to start off with. It's obviously really sort of exasperated things like the fatigue is horrendous, the nausea is horrendous, and the pain of, like, not just my normal all over body pain, but in the stomach and the starving and everything. So that I'll go into more details about that in another video. I've sort of been like brainstorming about like specific topics to talk about to help try to raise awareness of the reality of living with chronic disease, which is obviously what this channel's all about. And today I wanted to touch on something that happened recently. Excuse the sunglasses. I am under here, I promise. But I've turned the light on so you guys can see me. And especially with like artificial light, I get really bad headaches and migraines. So I'm just trying to avoid that, if I'm honest. You'll also have to excuse the fact I'm lying down. I've got very low blood pressure at the moment. So anyway, and so I wanted to start posting about sort of specific subjects. And this is something that happened recently. I talk very openly with other chronic disease warriors on my open Facebook. I think it's a really great way of if people in the well world want to read it, that they can become more educated. It's not just from a medical point of view, it's how it affects us, physically, emotionally, mentally. And I think they're really great conversations to have if you're comfortable having them. And somebody said to me recently, like, that she's like, and she didn't mean it in a nasty way, but she's like, it's like a competition. And I wanted to clear that up, because when we talk about our own symptoms, how they're affecting us, the real nitty gritty of the symptoms, including all the really nasty stuff and the nasty effects that it's having. And then somebody else comes on and they're like, oh yeah, no, this is my reality. This is what happens to me. I get this symptom, I get that symptom, or that one's worse for me, but that one's not so bad. And, it's like they're comparing, and obviously this lady's perception was that this person was always like trying to compete. And it absolutely, it couldn't be further from the truth, actually. And I think it's really important that we have those conversations, and that somebody is allowed to say, well, I have that symptom, but it's worse for me here, or it's better for me here. Because it's about validating each other, especially when you have a long-term debilitating chronic disease. You come up against a lot of speculation. You come up against a lot of people that don't believe you. You come up against a lot of doctors that don't think that it can be as bad as you really say it is. And having that validation and that affirmation that you're not the only person experiencing it is really, really important in our community. It's really important that we know that we're not alone, and that there is there's a great comfort in that, in knowing that you aren't alone. There's a great comfort in knowing that somebody really understands your suffering. And that's a word that I know a lot of people are really uncomfortable with, but I do use, and I use it regularly, because again, I think we need to be like transparently honest. And as uncomfortable as the idea is that we suffer, and it's a horrible notion that somebody suffers all the time, every day, but we do, and that's our reality. And it's not a nice reality. And a lot of us, even though we do suffer, we still, we etch out lives for ourselves. We strive really hard to create lives in happiness and pockets of, independence and happiness for ourselves. But the stark reality is that we're suffering. So that's why I use that word, and please don't think that I use it lightly, because I really don't. But in forums, in online support groups, in comments on YouTube, we really need to be able to have that space to talk about what we are going through. And certainly if you're wanting to know how to support somebody living with a chronic disease, allowing them to have that space for honesty is really important, and accepting that it is honesty. And you may wish that they were exaggerating because you don't want to think that they're suffering that much, but actually you need to be able to get to a place where you can accept in yourself that that is their reality. And as much as you wish that they were over exaggerating, they actually really aren't. And giving people a safe place that they can communicate is so important, because as much as looking after yourself physically when you have a chronic disease, we need to look after the whole person. It's like a whole package, we need to look after them emotionally, we need to look after them mentally. If they're somebody of faith, we need to look after them spiritually. And it might be that this comes from lots of different people in your life. You might have somebody that you can talk to about your mental health, but you couldn't talk to about your spirituality, and that's okay. But if you're wanting to support somebody with a chronic disease, if you feel like you have a specific gift to offer, and you can sort of say, well, actually, I would really love to come and share communion with you, or I would really love to come and read to you when you're in so much pain that you can't bear it. I'd like to come and sit and have a cup of tea with you, so you have a visitor once a week. There's so much stuff that you can do. You don't have to feel helpless in wanting to support somebody with a chronic disease, because there are so many things that you can do. If that person has a full-time carer, maybe you could perhaps cook a meal once a week and take that round, because then that means that the carer has one meal a week that they don't have to cook, and let carers be honest about their reality. I think we all feel like such burdens to our carers, who we know love us so much that they would do anything for us, that sometimes it's almost too painful to hear their reality. And if you feel like you can't be the person who hears about how your illness is impacting on your carer, then you can really help that person. And in the same way that we need to be able to go, this is my symptom, this is how it affects me, oh yeah, here's my symptom, this is how it affects me. Carers need that chance as well. And if you don't feel like you can be that person, which is totally understandable, could you encourage them to a carer support group, so that they can compare their lives? And it's not, like I say, it's not about one-upmanship. It's not about being the worst off. It's about validating each other. And in saying that your symptoms, your reality is the same, you're giving that person an enormous gift of validation and affirmation that actually what they are experiencing is very, very real, and you really understand it, and that you're there for them. So yeah, I think that's it really. I'm going to try and keep these fairly short. I'll do some video vlogs as well. I'm sorry, throughout Tony's cancer journey I have abandoned YouTube really, and I do apologise for that. But yeah, you just have to dig deep sometimes, and I needed to dig deep and sort of shut off from everything. So alright, I hope this helps. I hope it helps validate the way that you feel. I hope it validates your friendships and your relationships. And by all means, if you have someone that you want to explain your point of view to, but you don't necessarily know how to, and you want to share this video, please do. That's what we're here for. Alright guys, I will catch up with you very soon. Bye!